The last level of any Mario game is more than likely not its true last level. In a trend that's been seen a lot in recent Mario games, there's sometimes a secret final level that you unlock for 100%ing the game. Those levels are what I want to take a look at today because, honestly, some of these are quite interesting. I'll be going through all of these games in their release order, taking a look at the game's respective secret final level, and placing it on a tier list. Also, I'm mainly judging these levels based on how well they work as a secret final level. Not all Mario games have one, but in total I've come up with 13 different games to talk about. Unfortunately enough though, we have to start by talking about the lost levels. Even though most of the time I can't stand this game, I don't hate this level as much as plenty of others. Don't get me wrong, the level is still pretty challenging, but it's actually designed a lot better than others in the game. Things start out in a castle that gives off similar vibes to 8-4. There's a couple of tricky jumps here, but nothing that we haven't seen before. At the end of the castle section is a pipe that takes you to a normal plains area with added wind effects. Well, I say normal, but there's bloopers flying around, so really, I meant normal for the lost levels. You'll eventually reach a pipe that you can go down and enter a little underground break area before going back to the castle in the final part of the level. There's some tough parts in here like a fake Bowser fight right as you enter and a hammer row guarding a one-block passageway. It all leads up to Bowser, and this fight with him is pretty tough. There's a bunch of bricks that don't allow you to jump over Bowser, and instead you have to go through them. There's also a fire bar inside of those blocks, so you really have to time when you decide to run. Or just damage boost through Bowser if you aren't Small Mario. That works. Once Bowser is defeated, Peach is saved, and you get a nice little cutscene to end the game. While the Lost Levels isn't my favorite, I do think this level is decently fun. It feels very Lost Levels-like, and it's a good little challenge for what it sets out to do. Shockingly enough, I'm gonna put D-4 in C tier. I think it embodies what the Lost Levels is very well, and I kinda like its challenge. I mean, it's still in C tier because it's not that great, but I was surprised by how much I actually liked the level. Now it's time to move on to a game that I like so much more than the Lost Levels, being Super Mario World. This is one of the weirder levels that we're gonna see today because of how easy it is. It's not like super easy, but compared to everything else that we're gonna see today, it's pretty simple. The level mostly consists of dodging sumo bros, and while they can definitely be a pain sometimes, if you're patient, they aren't bad. There's other enemies here like Koopas and Chargin' Chucks, but they really aren't too hard to deal with. The level is even easier if you come into it with Yoshi, since there's some blue Koopa shells for you to eat which allow Yoshi to fly. Right before the end of the level, there's also a cool little message written in coins saying you are a super player. Why thank you Miyamoto, I know I am. Once you complete it, the world map also changes to autumn, which I've always thought was pretty cool. But where do I think the level itself ranks on the tier list? I get that most of the levels in the special zone are already pretty challenging, but it kinda feels underwhelming. It's not a nothing level at all, and Mario World is one of those games where the controls make almost any level bearable. Still though, I don't think I can put this level any higher than C tier. However, I will put it above D-4. I'm more willing to forgive this level for not being too challenging because of how the special zone is as a whole, but at the same time, the final level being kinda forgetful compared to all the others in the zone makes it not as great. I mean, it's still better than D-4, so W Mario World, L Lost Levels. Super Mario Galaxy is quite infamous for having a pretty underwhelming 100% reward. After you get all 120 power stars as both Mario and Luigi, plus beating Bowser one last time, you get access to Grand Finale Galaxy on the Trials planet. This star lets you attend the Star Festival back in the Mushroom Kingdom, and your objective is to collect 100 purple coins. There's no way to die in this level, and you're pretty much just walking in a straight path. I think it's pretty cool that the game comes full circle, and the music here is absolutely phenomenal. There's tons of NPCs to talk to, and right before you get the star, there's a Toad who sends a little picture to either the Wii message board or your photo gallery if you're on the Switch. You get a different picture based on if you complete it with Mario or Luigi, which is a neat little touch. Still though, the level doesn't live up to almost any other star in Mario Galaxy. That said, I don't think it's F tier worthy, so I'm gonna stick it in D tier. I just find this level so charming, and yeah, it's probably because it's one of my favorite games of all time, but I do kinda like running through this place. I can definitely understand if you want to put this in F tier, but my Galaxy bias is just way too strong. World 9 in New Super Mario Bros. Wii is home to quite a few interesting levels. Also, I know that this might not technically be the last level that you play, but whatever, I didn't know what else to do. This level is an auto-scroller, which immediately doesn't give it a good start. What is pretty fun though is jumping on these clouds while collecting coins and using propeller blocks. You'll mainly be dodging fuzzies for the first half, which is fine, but the second half of the level is where things get a lot more fun. Out of nowhere, a bunch of King Bills start powering through the screen. There are coins that serve as an indicator as to what direction they're going to come from, so it isn't super hard hard, but they take up so much of the screen that it can be easy to get hit. After all the king bills have been passed, you can reach the flag and beat the level. This level isn't underwhelming at all, but it's just kinda okay. Luckily though, this level benefits from having star coins, which elevate any level in the new Super Series. I don't like how this is an auto-scroller though. I mean, I understand why it is because of the king bill section, which granted is my favorite part of the level, but that's only half the level. The level also uses the propeller mushroom and the propeller blocks, which are very fun to use and make dodging everything a lot more interesting. It's not a great final level, but I think it's a solid little B tier. It is on the lower end, but I do think it's better than all the levels we've seen so far. If it wasn't an auto-scroller, I still think it would be B tier, but it would be on the higher end. Now let's talk about probably the most infamous secret final level in the whole Mario series. The Perfect Run is not only an amazing level, but it's one of the hardest Mario levels of all time. In order to unlock this level in the first place, you have to collect all 120 stars and 120 green stars, which unlocks Grandmaster Galaxy. You then have to beat the ultimate test and then get 9,999 star bits, which finally unlocks the Perfect Run. This takes everything that you've learned in Galaxy 2 and makes you complete several hard sections without taking a hit. The first section has you use Yoshi and the flower grapples to dodge a bunch of bombs, bullet bills, and choppas. The next section is probably the easiest, as you just have to turn these platforms yellow while dodging 4 sentry beams. You won't spend long here, and in the next area you ditch Yoshi to use the cloud flower. There's a constant wind blowing as you traverse this electric maze, making it to where you can't stand on a cloud for too long. I think this is probably my favorite part of the whole stage, and it's just so satisfying to complete the area fast. Then you have to make it through an area with ring beamers, octopuses, disappearing platforms, and the flip-swap platforms that switch when you spin. If you saved up a couple of clouds from the last section, then this part is made a million times easier. After that is probably the weirdest section, where you use pull stars to dodge a bunch of obstacles. I think this part is a little weird because the pull star mechanic wasn't used a whole lot in Galaxy 2, but I still like it. But finally, you've reached the final section filled with Hammer and Boomerang Bros. If you take your time here, it makes things easier, but man is it stressful. You only need to defeat the Boomerang Bros at the very end to move on, so if you feel comfortable, you can just kinda ignore the Hammer Bros. Once you take out the Boomerang Bros, a launch star takes you to both Rosalina and the star. Yeah, this is an easy S tier. I've played through this level so many times, and while it can be frustrating occasionally, I have so much fun playing through it. Plus you get Rosalina on Starship Mario for your troubles, which is pretty neat. This game kinda started the trend of super hard final Mario levels, so you gotta at least respect it. Now what level gets to follow the masterpiece that is the Perfect Run? Well, that would be Special 8 Crown, and it's pretty solid. The first 10 seconds or so have you jump across platforms while dodging Hammer and Boomerang Bros. And let me go ahead and say, I really like how this level looks. The dark background with all the colorful platforms is really pleasing to look at. After taking a warp box, you jump between increasingly smaller platforms while dealing with some Goombas. I highly recommend coming into the stage with the Tanuki suit, or else you're probably going to have quite a tough time. After bouncing off a toad, you can reach a pipe, taking you to a dual boss fight with Boom Boom and Pom Pom. Yeah, you fight them a lot in this game, but I find them decently fun to fight as a pair. Once they're both defeated, a pipe appears, taking you to an area with these platforms with arrows on them. As you continue through the level, there's fuzzies for you to avoid, and when you eventually reach a different platform, a bunch of bombs with tails start raining down from the sky. Then past a couple of fire bars is a warp box that takes you to a short section with more fire bars and platforms that fall when you step on them. The next warp box takes us to the toughest area yet, with a giant cosmic clone chasing Mario while you avoid too many things for me to name. Then after taking one more warp box, you get a thank you message made out of flip panels, and then you can beat the level. Too much of Mario 3D Land gets forgotten, and I feel like this level isn't talked about enough either. It's challenging of course, but not nearly as hard as the Perfect Run. It's definitely a pretty fun level, so for that, I'm gonna stick it in A tier. It's one of the most memorable levels from this game, and it serves as a great 100% reward. NSMB2 has quite the weird secret final level in my opinion. It's not bad by any means, but it does take a few of the ideas that World 6 Final Castle had. The first part of the level has the Koopalings in the background trying to stun Mario with a beam of light. Luckily, there's tons of walls you can hide behind, but there's a couple of tense stretches. While you try to deal with them, there are these saws in the way jumping out of the lava and blocking some platforms for a little bit. Eventually, you'll reach a door taking you to a short room with saws jumping out of the lava. Past another door, the Koopalings are back, but this time around, you're bound to a snake block. That makes this area very stressful, and there's even a few parts where you have to time a jump to avoid the flash of light. At the end of this room is the boss door, taking us to a little hallway before the boss. Instead of Bowser this time around, it's Dry Bowser, which is cool, but the fight functions pretty much the exact same. The only difference in the initial fight is that Dry Bowser is immune to fire, but the real fight is pretty much the exact same. Instead of orange fireballs, Dry Bowser spits out blue ones and throws out bones instead of hammers. It's fine enough, and once you hit the switch at the end, the level is over. Obviously, this level is just a remix of World 6 Final Castle, so that makes it a bit hard to rank. The first half of the level is completely unique, but the dry Bowser battle being the same as the normal Bowser battle brings it down a bit. I'm still gonna give this a B tier, and it's definitely over 9-8 in NSMB Wii. Had the final Bowser fight been a bit more difficult, then this level could have made it up to A tier. Superstar Road in NSMBU has quite a few tough challenges, but that can't be said about its final level. Follow That Shell, believe it or not, revolves around Koopa shells, and it's very simple. You just throw Koopa shells down a few areas and watch them go. This really feels like something you would see in Mario Maker, but I find it kinda neat to watch this type of level play out in a normal Mario game. That said though, there's not really much to this one. It's kinda just like the Star Festival, where there's one final cool level, but not really any challenge. With that said, I'm gonna put Follow the Shell in C tier above D-4. It's cool one time, but not really a level I'm gonna seek out to unlock every single time. Let's take a look at a game that we don't normally look at on this channel, being New Super Luigi U. Flying Squirrel Ovulation Ovation is pretty cool as you just glide down the screen while collecting coins and dodging other flying squirrels. Yeah, this is another level that's pretty simple and not challenging, but I kinda like this one. Since these levels only have 100 seconds to play with, you can't really have a super long and difficult challenge for a final level, so instead, why not just make it super easy instead? Also right at the end of the level is a little Luigi cutout that you can stick your head out of, and I find this to be pretty cute. But cuteness can save this level too much, so I'm gonna put it down in C tier right above Follow That Shell. Really, these are interchangeable, but I just like the backdrop a lot more in this level, and I find it more fun to play through. Super Mario 3D World is home to what I think is the single hardest level in any Mario game. Champions Road is quite the challenge, and if you want to beat it with all 5 characters, then good luck. Even though you can bring multiple power-ups into this level, it's still very easy to fail. The first little bit has you dodge some Octoombas while a few of their platforms move. Then after climbing up some steps and dodging Fire Bros, you'll come across some thin platforms with charging trucks running across them. At the end of that area is a warp box that takes you to a section with beat blocks. You'll have to precisely jump between these blocks, and I can't tell you the amount of times I've messed up here. Then after taking a cannon, you'll have to fight off 3 Magic Koopas while the ground disappears and you dodge fire bars in each corner. Once the Magic Koopas are defeated, a warp box appears, taking you to an area with spike bars and fuzzies. There is a potted piranha plant that you can grab, but I don't normally grab it. If you have a lucky cat bell and take your time in this area, it can be pretty easy, but I don't like taking the easy road. A warp box is at the end of that area, and it takes you to a section with ant troopers that you need to jump off of to climb a wall. Then you gotta jump off some piranha creepers that lead you to a spiky maze that you traverse by swimming. I've always found this part very stressful, and past that is the final area of Champions Road. There's boost panels absolutely everywhere and ring burners sending out shockwaves that damage you. At the very end of this area, you'll need to collect 5 key coins while continuing to use boost panels and dodge ring burners. This part is so tough, but I absolutely love it. Once all the key coins are collected, a warp box appears and you get a nice little thank you before being able to reach the flagpole. I love Champions Road so much, and it's another easy S tier. I'd even put it above the perfect run. It's such a fun challenge, and playing it with all 5 characters makes it even better. It really feels like a new level every time you play it. Well, let's see if any other level can stack up to Champions Road. The Darker Side, or A Long Journey's End from Mario Odyssey, is easily the longest level we're going to talk about today. While you don't have to get every moon in the game, you do still need to obtain 500 moons. The level starts out with a little area with a ton of Goombas and a UFO. You can completely skip this area, but if you decide to take out the UFO, you'll be gifted with a life up heart. Past that, you gotta jump between a bunch of different poles that slowly fall down into lava and then do some trapeze or something over more poles. After that, you gotta platform across some very fast moving platforms, and then you get to capture a lava bubble and jump into different pockets of lava. At the end of that area is a cannon taking you to the next area. Over here, you get to use one of my favorite captures, being an uproot. After the uproot area is a little freezing water section that has some fuzzies. Then you get to capture Yoshi as you take 2 conveyor belts while dodging more fuzzies. After that, you take a little flower pathway that leads to a Sphinx puzzle where, when solved, blesses you with another life up heart. Unfortunately, now we must leave Yoshi behind because you need to throw Cappy on a scarecrow for the next section. This involves a bunch of platforms jutting out of the wall that you'll need to jump across quickly or else you'll be pushed off. At the top is a fun little glide-on area where you can actually use them to skip to the end of the level. But for now, let's use some forks to make it to a pipe. This next area is one of the harder ones in the Darker Side. You'll be moving across a slowly moving platform with a bunch of Burbos as they try to attack Mario. There is a pulse beam in the middle of the platform you can hit, but that sets off a whole chain reaction, so it's probably easier to just not. Once the platform stops, you can capture a Pokio and use its beak to poke through these wooden Bowser walls. I think this is the part of the level where I've died the most just for simply mistiming the jumps between walls. At the top is a 2D Mario section where we gotta avoid barrels being thrown by Donkey Kong. It's not difficult at all, and once DK decay is taken care of, we can take a pipe that places us right in front of a painting. Inside the painting is the last little stretch of the level where you get to play as Bowser. You'll mainly be trying to avoid these boulders that you can destroy by swiping your claws at them. After jumping down a hole, we can take an electric pylon to see our patented thank you message. To reach the multi-moon, we have to use the very first capture in the game, being the frog, as we jump up this really tall building. Cappy has a little monologue reflecting on our journey as a whole, and honestly, the atmosphere makes me pretty emotional. Nonetheless though, once you reach the top, you can grab the multi-moon and you unlock the invisible cap, which turns Mario invisible. Once again, I think this is an S tier secret final mission. I have it at the bottom of S tier, but it's still a phenomenal level. Gosh, I really need Nintendo to make a Mario Maker 3 soon, and I hope it has a story mode very similar to Mario Maker 2. I like how it's laid out, and a lot of the missions are very creative and fun. The secret final mission though, on the other hand, isn't really the greatest. It's just a harder version of 1-1, and while the level isn't bad or poorly made at all, I'm just kinda tired of this stupid stage. A bunch of enemies are replaced with harder enemies like Hammer Bros and Buzzy Beetles. There's also a Bowser behind the flagpole who shoots fire at Mario. I plan on ranking all the Mario Maker 2 story mode levels at some point, and this level is probably going to be on the lower end. It's not the worst level by any means, but I just would have wanted something a lot more creative for a 100% reward. I'm going to put this in D tier below the Star Festival, which I know some people might find to be a little crazy, but it's just how I feel. I don't find the level to be particularly enjoyable to run through, and I feel like they could have made a much more interesting and creative secret final level. For our final level, we'll be taking a look at Super Mario Bros. Wonder's The Final Test Badge Marathon. Since I've already talked about this level a little in a previous video, I'll try to keep this a little brief. You'll go through multiple sections using all types of badges, with those being the parachute cap, floating high jump, dolphin kick, crouching high jump, wall climb jump, spring feet, jet run, boosting spin jump, grapple vine, and the invisibility badge. You'll end up completing all types of different challenges that revolve around all of those badges. The level is decently long, but it does include checkpoints, which is a nice touch. I really like that this level exists because I didn't really use a lot of these badges on my first playthrough of the game, so it made me have to learn how to use all of them. The Final Test Badge Marathon is a fun level with a decent bit of challenge, so for that, I'm going to stick it at the top of A tier. I'm so excited to see what the next 2D Mario game has to offer, because if it's even half as good as Mario Wonder, we're in for such a good time. And that's every secret final level in the Mario series ranked. I thought this would be a neat little idea, and I hope you guys enjoyed. There's another video very similar to this style that is probably going to come out next week, but I'm not 100% sure about that yet. I'm going to continue experimenting with these different formatted videos, and if you guys like them, then let me know by liking and subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. But that's going to do it for me. Have a phenomenal rest of your day, and we'll be seeing ya.